topic is supply. What is called supply? That is the main taxable event for the purpose of GST. So the supply, this is the taxable event. As and when supply takes place, the tax liability accrues. So we have to understand clearly what is the meaning of the term supply. In this chapter, mainly two parts are there. One is definitions. In total, if you look at GST, 120 plus definitions are there, and then the term supply is explained, right? So definitions under CGST are all given under section 2, and the term supply, this is explained under section 7. This is to be read with section 8, and also to be read with schedule 1, schedule 2 and 3. Right. So when you understand section 7, 8 as well as schedule number 1, 2 and 3, then you really understand what is called supply. And first we have to talk about the definitions, because in every chapter you will find definitions and lots of repetitive definitions have been given. So every time we will not talk about the definitions, but as and when necessary we will discuss about that. So in this chapter, the very first and relevant definition is goods. What is the meaning of the term goods for the purpose of this act? Answer is very, very simple. This is goods under section 2, subsection 52. This is section 2, subsection 52. So in a nutshell, this means all movables excluding money and securities. Money itself is not regarded as goods. Current currency is exchanged, it is not bought and sold. So therefore, whenever there is an exchange of money, there is a services involved, and if there is any consideration for the service, that becomes taxable. Otherwise, simply exchange of money itself is non-taxable. Similarly, about the term securities, so when the securities which are already listed the stock exchange, those are bought and sold, then these are not considered as goods, but the services in relation to the buying and selling of the security, those are treated as services for the purpose of this. So goods means all movables but excluding money and securities, but including actionable claims. Actionable claims. So what is actionable claims? For that I can give you a very simple term. These are unsecured debts. So when the debt is secured by way of mortgage or hypothecation, that is not regarded as actionable claim. So therefore I am giving the one word, what is actionable claim? So that is unsecured debts. And that also includes growing crop. So growing crop is used as a example. So anything which is already attached or fastened to the earth but which is required to be severed under the contract of sale, then that will be regarded as goods. So this definition is not new for you, this is already known to you. Now coming to the next definition. So friends, this is first lecture, these are summary lectures, so I am not going to hold on. As and when you feel it necessary, just press the pause button, take the note, and then we proceed further. So the next definition is agent. Who is called agent? The term is defined under section 2, subsection 5. Agent, this is section 2, subsection 5. Now very first important thing is what is the name given to the person. That is not important, whether he is called as a broker or he is called as an agent or he is referred as a factor or whatsoever is the name given. So first thing is by whatever name called, by whatever name called. So this becomes important. So name actually means the designation given to him or the person how he is addressed. It is not the formal name of the person. right? So by whatever name called, whether he is referred as a broker or he is referred as an agent or he is referred as an auctioneer or he is referred as a rail credit agent, whatever he is called as, but the role he is doing, he is engaged in making supplies, making, or you can say receiving supplies of goods or services. But whatever he is doing, this is on behalf of another. So any person who is engaged in the activity of making or receiving the supplies of the goods or services on behalf of another, by whatever reference is given to that person, he will be considered as an agent for the purpose of this act. And why it is the term agent is defined? Answer is simple, that the liability of the principal and agent is joint as well as several. So that is why the term agent has been defined, right? Now, the next and the most important definition that comes under section 2 subsection 17, and that is called business. What is called business? This is defined under section 2 subsection 17, right? And very first thing is there are 9 clauses in the definition. So if you remember 9 clauses, that will help you to reproduce the definition. Here I am not going to write all 9 because you can read the definition in the material, but what I am going to tell you is the definition includes any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, wager, and this is with or without consideration. With or without consideration. So actually this is the main thing about as far as goods are concerned, right? So this is any trade, so any buying, selling, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, wager, so almost everything has been covered in this. In addition to that, any activity which is ancillary or incidental, ancillary or incidental to this, that is also covered in that. And to be regarded as a business, frequency and volume, frequency and volume, these are immaterial. So somebody is selling the goods only once in a while, still it is a business, right? Or he will buy only once, that is also a business. Then acquisition, or receiving capital goods, or services for commencement or closure of business. So activities in relation to commencement and closure are also regarded as business. So when the business is shut down, the assets are being disposed of, that disposal of capital goods or acquisition at the time of commencement, everything will be regarded as business. Then further says, services by a club or AOP to its members, that is also regarded as business. Friends, what is important, you remember the 9 clauses, and these are given alphabetically. I'm not writing all 9, but I'm giving you what is the main thing is considered as a business. So business is inclusive definition is given. So this is not exhaustive, and this is any trade or commerce or manufacture or profession or vocation or wager with or without consideration, ancillary activities which are ancillary or incidental to these activities. Then frequency and volume become immaterial. Then acquisition or receiving of capital goods or services for either commencement or closure of the business. Then services by the club or AOP to its own members. Some more thing is remaining. Then services in professional capacity, any person holding any office because of competence. Services in the professional capacity. Then services by racing club, and this is certainly horse race, right? So all these are regarded as business. Now something very important to see, these are activities of central government, state government, local authority as public authority. Activities of the central government, state government, local authority as a public authority, right? Friends, it is defined as a business here, but this is excluded under section 7. That is not regarded as a supply. Is it a business? Answer is yes. Is it a supply? It is not because of section 7. So therefore, when the services are provided by the central government, state government, local authority as a public authority, since those are not the supply, the question of tax does not arise, right? So this is one. Now just to give you a brief of the meaning of the word supply before moving to further definitions. The term supply, it is covered in section 7 mainly. Then main provisions I am covering here for the term supply for goods and services, and this part is exclusively for services imported, right? So goods and services are taxable only when those are supplied for consideration and it is in the course or furtherance of business. In the course or furtherance of business. When two things are there, so effectively three things, there are goods and supplies, and goods or services, and there is a supply. Supply we are already talking about, so there is sale, exchange, barter, etc. Everything is covered in that, and it is in the course or furtherance of business. Then it is a supply for the purpose of GST, and then it becomes a taxable. If it is not in the course of business, it is not in the furtherance of the business, that will not be taxable. Services imported but for consideration. And whether those are imported in the furtherance of or business or not, it is immaterial. So now you can say that services imported for a consideration whether or not in the course or furtherance of business, though that is called as a supply and that is taxable. In other cases, there has to be a consideration and there has to be in the course of furtherance. So this is only in relation to services which are imported. So these are domestic services, these are services which are imported. But these provisions are subject to Schedule 1 to the CGST Act. Schedule 1 is referring the activities treated as supply even without consideration. Here we said consideration is important, but in Schedule 1 we have number of transactions which are treated as supply even if there is no consideration. In Schedule 2 we have activities treated as supply of goods or supply of services. So normally there is a combination. When the goods are also there, services are also there, then how it is to be treated, whether it is to be considered as supply of goods or it is to be considered as supply of services. There are a number of activities listed in Schedule 2 where it is clearly mentioned that it will be treated as supply of goods or supply of services. Then we have Schedule 3. These are activities not treated as supply. So when those are not considered as supply, the question of taxability does not arise. Right. So this is in nutshell, because the actual explanation I'll give you after the definition part. This is just the brief of what we are talking about in the definition portion. The next comes important definition comes, the term is consideration, and that is under section 2 subsection 31. Section 2 subsection 31, and the term is consideration. Why the term consideration has to be defined? Just now we talked about supply. Generally in the course of business, supply becomes taxable when it is for a consideration. Right? Now consideration generally means something in exchange, and this may be either money or something else, and this may be goods or services in lieu of money. In lieu of money. Right. So this is not the formal definition, but this is only for understanding what is the meaning of the term consideration. The next term defined is actionable claims, that is in section 2 subsection 1, and simple meaning of the term actionable claim is unsecured debts. Then comes the next important definition, that is manufacture. It is under section 2 subsection 72, manufacture. So the definition of the manufacture is not same or similar as it was under the Central Excise Act. Section 2 subsection 72, this is manufacture. Manufacture means working on inputs. So this working is processing. But the process itself is not important, the result of the process is important. Right? So working or processing of inputs resulting into a new article. A new article means new name, new identity, utility, and different characteristics. So whenever any action is done or any processing is done on the inputs and the result of that process is this, then it is a manufacture. And if it is not resulting in new article, still it is a process, but in that case it may amount to a service only. So there is the difference why we define the term of manufacture. The objective is that if this requirement of the new article is satisfied, the activity is referred as a manufacture. Otherwise, if it is not a manufacture, then it will be treated only as a service. So that's why the term has been defined. Now, who is the supplier and who is the recipient? So friends, supplier is a person, recipient is also a person. So who is that person? The term person is defined under section 2 subsection 84. Person. Section 2 subsection 84. So person is individual, HUF, AOP, then LLP, company, body corporate, then society, cooperative society, or a trust. Then we have central government, state government, local authority. And in addition to that, any other legal entity. Right? So here we are saying the supplier is a person, recipient is a person, but who is the person? Person is individual, HUF, AOP, LLP, company, body corporate, society, cooperative society, trust, central government, state government, local authority, as well as any other legal entity. Right? Now, prima facie, one person, number of places of business. But under this act, when a person is registered in one state, he is also registered for the same business in another state. Then for two different states, he will be treated as two distinct persons. Why and when? That is a subject matter of discussion later on. Now, who is a recipient? The term recipient is defined under section 2 subsection 93. The term recipient is also required to be defined clearly because that is relevant who will be liable to pay tax and what will be the place of supply. So that's why it is important to define who is recipient. When we talk about the place of supply, there you will understand that on the instruction of one person, if the goods are supplied to another person, and if the supplier and actual place of delivery are within the same state, but the person on whose instruction supply is being made happens to be in another state. So who will be liable to pay? The person who is giving the instruction. So the goods are deemed to have been supplied to that person in the another state. Right. At this point of time, what I told you, just to give you an illustration, assume Maharashtra. Here is a seller and here is a delivery. Both are in the same state. But Gujarat, the buyer is in the state of Gujarat. This buyer has given the instruction to the seller to deliver the goods to another place but within Maharashtra. If this is the supply made, the place of supply will be the place of business of the buyer. Why? Because he is the recipient. Why he is a recipient? That is why we are defining who is the recipient. So recipient depends upon whether the consideration is involved or consideration is not involved. There is consideration and there is no consideration. If there is a consideration, then person who is liable to pay. And if there is no consideration, then again two parts. In case of goods and in case of services. In case of goods, who is the recipient? To whom goods are actually delivered. And in case of services, person to whom services are provided. So friends, these are the definitions under chapter 2 which are relevant, and I want you to read all the definitions and the notes which you have taken in the class. In the next video, I am going to explain all the concepts relating to supply. Thank you.